At some point in your career, you fall into one of these 5 zones of greatness. The reason I did this part of the exercise before we got into the tactics is because I think it's really important to be self-aware about the type of agent you are. How do you utilize your strength, which is all the listings that you have, in order to grow more business? Anyways, my name is Jason Cassity. I'm a real estate agent in San Diego who has to fight for leads with Dan Parker. I'm also a team leader, and I'm in production, just like everybody else here, slanging houses. I'm the co-host of a podcast called The Walkthrough, the #1 real estate marketing podcast in the world. I have no idea how to check those stats, so don't fact check that right now. And then I'm also a coach at Sell It, which is the Ryan Serhant ecosystem. I say all that to say, I'm in the trenches with you. All of the tactics that I'm getting ready to share are things that we use with our team every single day. So hopefully, by the end of this, you guys could have some cool takeaways and put some of this into play in 2025 to help you get more business, right? Okay, so moving on. Has anybody heard of the concept of the 5 zones of greatness? Some people are saying, yeah, I made this up. I'm pretty sure. So now I think I'm getting a cease and desist or like a plagiarism charge here. So I heard about this initially. I think it was Mike Ferry or Brian Buffini or something. They did do this breakdown of their top 100 coaching clients. And they asked them 30 or 40 questions, and then they found that all 100, or it was 98 out of the 100, fell into one of these 5 buckets. And so I thought I titled that The 5 Zones of Greatness. He called it something else, but ultimately, there's no right or wrong answer here. Just at some point in your career, you fall into one of these 5 zones of greatness, and that's just the type of agent that you are. In fact, when I heard this the first time, I thought of the book, The 5 Love Languages. Has anybody read this book? Right? I read this when I was 13 years old in my church youth group. Don't know why I was reading this at 13 years old in my church youth group, but do you remember the 5 love languages? It was words of affirmation, gifts, quality time, physical touch, and acts of service. The point of the book, though, is that there's no right or wrong answer, right? You just kind of are what you are. You may have 1 or 2 different things, but the whole point is that you're self-aware and you figure out what you are so that you can fill your love tank with your partner and fill their love tank or whatever. Similarly, does this go backwards? Similarly, the 5 zones of greatness is the same thing. There's no right or wrong answer. You just kind of are what you are. But it's important to be self-aware so you know how to market, right? So I'm going to break down the 5 zones of greatness. And then in the second half, I'm going to break down tactics for each of the 5 zones of greatness that you can then put into play as we move forward, right? So as I'm going through these, listen along, see where you fall into these. The listing machine was #1. So of the 100 people, I think it was 70 of his top producers fell into the listing machine category. Now these guys, people, mega open houses, they're really dominant in a geographic farm. They do the just listed, just sold letters. Oftentimes they're trying to take their listing and turn it into more listings, right? They're really, really good. They're usually a seasoned agent because they have a book of business and a database or a team leader or something along those lines. I would say that this is kind of what we all strive to be at, because this is you're seasoned and now you have all the listings, you control all the inventory. These are the listing machines. Secondarily, we had the networker. So this person is more, they're always in it, right? They have all the scripts, maybe they're part of a BNI or a referral group. They've just all the connections, and they're really, really good with people. And so oftentimes, I think they said they weren't buyer's agents, but they were often buyer heavy, just because maybe they did online leads and they just had a Rolodex of people who were always looking for stuff, but they were just always in the mix. Third was the developer agent or the analytical agent. So these agents worked a lot with flippers, home builders, things like that. They knew about all the off-market inventory. They could analyze a deal, maybe find deals on the MLS, send it off to their flippers. These guys I always thought would be the Pace Morby crew, who are into Subject 2 and creative finance, maybe finding deals where other people couldn't find deals. Fourth was the love and relationships agent, which is full disclosure where I fell into. These people just live in their CRM, right? They make their calls every day. They have a bunch of past clients, usually a little bit more of a seasoned agent too, because you have to have a database big enough for this. But my friend Jimmy Burgess, actually, he said this one time. He said, I buy lunches, not leads. And I'm that's the love and relationships agent. They're not out doing a ton of Zillow stuff. They're working their database through and through. And then lastly, probably half this room, actually, is that you have the influencer agent. This is the agent who crushes social. They're really good at video marketing. They're obviously, because they're so out there, they probably have a very good agent-to-agent referral network. And they're probably the people we're seeing talk right now, talk about all the video stuff that we're doing. Those are the 5 kind of archetypes, what I consider the zones of greatness. Now again, I want to reiterate, there's no right or wrong answer. I did a little radar chart of what I thought of myself on this one. And I just found out, like, there's a couple of the categories here. I think I'm more primarily the love and relationships agent. But as I was going through this, did anybody see themselves in any of those agent archetypes? Yeah? Good. And so the reason I did this part of the exercise before we got into the tactics is because I think it's really important to be self-aware about the type of agent you are. There's this quote, it's an Einstein quote, I think, gets attributed to him, where everybody has a little bit of genius in them, but if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it's going to live its whole life thinking it's a failure. Right? Similarly, if you judge a developer-type agent on its ability to shoot video, you're going to think it's a bad agent. He's going to think he's not doing good enough. Right? If you have a love and relationship agent and you tell them to door knock and cold call and open house and all the stuff that a listing machine does, they're going to feel like they're not doing enough. So it's really important to be aware of who you are as an agent and then stick to it. There's 85 different ways to make money in this business. Pick 3 or 4 or 5 that you're really, really good at and stick to those. Don't get too much of the shiny object syndrome, right? Okay, so did anybody see themselves as the listing machine? Nobody. Okay, a few. The listing machines are like all rich and they don't participate or something like that. So for the listing machine, what I want to do is I want to go through each of these and give a couple tactics, maybe like an old school tactic and then an evolved version of the tactic. So the listing machines, they have what we all want. They have the inventory. They have a ton of listings, right? And they probably got it by doing some of these old school marketing tactics. So here I have like pictures of the open house flyers. They're probably door knocking, dropping off open house flyers, maybe sending just listed, just sold cards to the 200 neighbors or 100 neighbors or 300 neighbors. Whatever it is that they do, they're trying to turn that listing into more listings, which is great. In fact, I've been doing the same thing. I found this video in my phone as I was prepping for this, where I was hand signing 200 mailers back in 2019 to go out to around a listing that we had. This is like meat and potatoes. It's like foundational. You can, like, anybody can do just listed, just sold and not be the listing machine. But what I'd like the listing machines in the room to kind of think about is, how do you utilize your strength, which is all the listings that you have, in order to grow more business? And one way I think that you can do that is to elevate your listing videos, right? And so we've started to see listing videos. I would say that everybody does listing videos at this point, but I don't know that that's really the case. I'd say maybe half of the people are doing listing videos, but a lot of the listing videos that we see are like, hi, welcome to 123 Banana Street, come on in. And then it's just like pan tours of the house, which isn't quite what I'm trying to get the listing machines to do. What I would like the listing machines to do is elevate the listing video just a bit. I'm going to show a couple examples of my favorites, and then I'm going to go through why I think these are the right move for listing machine agents to do. So this one is actually going back to 2019. It's one of my favorite listing videos that we shot.
Is this seat taken?
The husband's. He's late.
Again?
Yep.
Mind if I sit here while you're waiting for him? Can I get a Negroni, please?
Oh, yeah, can we get 2 of those?
You got it?
Mike, you are Sharon?
How did you know?
Lucky guess. You kind of look like a Sharon to me. I live 2 blocks away and I've never been to this place. Look at that, there's my balcony.
So how was your weekend?
Oh, it was great. You know, the usual. We met a girl, fell in love again.
Well, you should marry her.
And change all this.
We have to wait a whole nother year to do this?
Happy anniversary.
So with this one, funny enough, this wasn't even, and you'll notice in the video, we're not really showing a lot about the unit. I do want to preface, this was for a whole building. We had like 15 units in a building. It was a development. So we weren't showing off a specific unit. We were showing off the building, trying to show like the lifestyle, where it was at in banker sales, stuff like that. But the whole point is that on these elevated listing videos, you're using the house as more of like a set, and then you're telling a story. On that case, it was trying to like entertain a little bit. I'm going to show one more where we're invoking an emotion. This is more recent. This one was just last month, and so I just want to show you that I still got it.
Our family's story started in a townhome by the beach, but as our family grew, we dreamed of a larger property where our kids could grow up running around, feeling connected to nature, and where we could host family gatherings. We're so lucky that we found that in this home. Every morning we wake up to a sunrise and the sounds of birds, yet we're still just 15 minutes from the beach and some of the top restaurants in North County for date night. This neighborhood is special in that it's private and quiet, but we can also walk over to our neighbors, have a chat, and buy fresh homegrown produce. It's a community rooted in ease and simplicity. The house itself has been perfectly curated and designed for a family. I love the split levels, the cozy corners, and how everyone has their own special place within these walls. We're so grateful for the memories we've had here. Our time here has felt like absolute magic. And now it's time for another family to make it their own. I hope you love it as much as we have.
Okay, so this one obviously a different bit of a tone. This one is evoking an emotion. And so when I'm doing these elevated listing videos, oh my God, that was very nice. Thank you. With these elevated listing videos, I'm always trying to hit one of the 3 E's, which is invoking an emotion, entertaining, or educating. And on educating, I don't have an example of that, but Shannon Gillette does really good jobs with these where you're like, almost like showing the lifestyle of living in Phoenix versus the house itself. Even though it's a listing video, you're educating on like what it's like to live there. And so again, going back to it, as I see the listing videos, and it's always like 1, 2, 3 Banana Street, and then you just show the house. But like that doesn't cut through the noise the same way that these videos do. And I don't mean it in the sense of like getting more views. I mean it just that it stops the scroll a little bit more and then gets shared amongst the people who really care, and that's the neighbors. Because that, as the listing machine, is what you're trying to do, is you're trying to get these videos in front of the neighbors who have never seen anything like this, or maybe have seen just the other type of videos, and this helps you cut through the noise and stand out, right? I think I mentioned this before, that it was Matt Leonetti's quote, but he said when he does his videos, his house is just the set. So both of those videos, the house was just the set, had nothing to do with showcasing the 3-bed, 2-bath. You're invoking some sort of an emotion. Right? So, and it doesn't have to be like Gucci $2,000 like video, $2,500 videos. Like the one here, is there a laser on this? I don't know. Okay, so like the one here, 3605 Leland, that's just me sitting in the house talking about mid-century architecture, right? And so I was talking about mid-century architecture because the house was mid-century. So it wasn't like super expensive. I mean, it was like nicer than normal, but it wasn't super expensive. 1744 Thomas, I was just walking through the house talking about what it's like to live in Pacific Beach. Again, nothing to do with I never said 4-bed, 4-bath, whatever. I was just saying living in PB is about a lifestyle. You can walk to the coffee shops, you can do this. So elevating the listing video not only cuts through the noise, but then for those listing machines, you can then elevate the old school posts that you were doing, right? So you used to send 200 just listed, just sold postcards and flyers to the neighbors, but now you can actually send these type of postcards, which have QR codes back to your landing page to show off the video. So every time we would send just listed, just sold postcards, we would get about a 10% hit rate to our landing page. So if we sent 200, we get about 20 hits to our landing page. We get like 30% when we send these. That postcard there that we did, it's actually like, it's just the front of the postcard, but where we did the screenshot of that video and said, hey neighbor, here's how this video helped sell $97,000 over the Zillow's estimate. That's a fantastic postcard. That's actually a 2-pronged because you're showing how your video oversold the Zillow's estimate and you're showing off the listing video. That one got like 40% hit rate to the landing page. But it's not just views that you're getting views from the 200 neighbors close by who are then seeing how you market homes better than everybody else. Does that help anybody? Even the non-listing machines? Good? Okay, good. Just want to make sure I'm not, you guys, if you tell me it sucks, that's okay. I'm okay. Were there any networkers, self-identified networkers in the group, right? So the networkers, again, these are the people, they probably have like a Rolodex of clients, maybe a ton of leads, but they just don't know what to do with them yet. Now, of course, I wouldn't stand up on this stage and say, shoot an I have a buyer video, because Kristen Nielsen has told me in the past that if she has to see these videos one more time, she's gonna kill me. I would never stand on stage and just show one of my I have a buyer videos. I'm gonna show them all. If you're seeing this message, it's on purpose. If you're seeing this video, it's on purpose. If you're seeing this, it's on purpose. If you're seeing this video, it's because I need your help. I'm looking for a buyer of mine. Her name is Haley. Her names are Scott and Paige. Their names are Sean and Amanda. Their names are Sam and Ellie, and they're looking for a house to buy in La Jolla, in Metro San Diego. She's looking in Windansea and Bird Rock, up to $4 million. She's pre-approved in the North County coastal area. They're pre-approved up to $2 million. Their budget is up to $5 million. Yeah, up to $2 million. Please reach out to me and let me know and see if we can make something happen off market. If you're thinking about selling or you know somebody who is, so if that's you, let me know and we'll see if we can make something happen for both. That was specifically added in here for Kristen Nielsen and Katie Day, who told me that they never wanted to see my video again. But the point of this is that they work. And to prove this to you, this didn't just start last year when Sharon started showing the video everywhere. I was doing this 7 years ago when I was at Compass. If you live in Bird Rock, this message is for you. My name's Jason. I represent a family of 4 that's looking to purchase a single family home in Bird Rock, preferably on Beaumont, Taft, Waverly, one of those streets. If you know of anything coming soon or you're thinking about selling, please swipe up, let me know. Okay. The reason that I continued doing that for 7 years is because it worked. That video from 2018 that I did, it was an Instagram story swipe up ads. You can't even do that anymore because you could then target the zip code. So I was just targeting La Jolla, which you can't even do anymore. I got 2 listing leads from it. They didn't work out for my buyer because it wasn't like the right house. But then I followed up with them for like 2 years. It's probably a whole nother talk at another conference. But I followed up with them for 2 years and got my first $3 million listing back in 2019 from that Instagram story swipe up ad. So I knew right then that as my biggest strength, which was all the connections, or in that case, the buyers that I had, would turn into a very a unique selling proposition for me and would make for great content. And it doesn't always have to, you don't always have to find the house for the buyer. Sometimes you find a listing. Sometimes it's just your other buyers that see how hard you're working for your current buyers, and then they decide to work with you when they're ready, right? So the networker has a ton of different options to put content out. You've got your 3 favorite spots in San Diego, your 3 favorite whatevers, news stories like we've seen with like some of the people who do breaking news stories. You're the person with all the connections, so put that content out there, both on social and also to your database. All of the videos that perform really well on social, you should also be sending email blasts to your database because they don't all follow you on social and then the people on social, you know what I mean? So cross-promote the 2. And make sure that you get the content out. Was that helpful for anybody? I know I was kind of contemplating, I'm like, okay, they've all seen that I have a buyer letters at this point, but I thought I could make it work. Okay, the developer kind of analytical clients. Did we have any developer-based clients in here? You know what's interesting is I've done this talk twice, and it's always no. Like there's nobody that says that they're the developer analytical client. But I know that the tactic here is going to work. Does anybody work with flippers? So I'm not going to say developers, but they have like flipper clients that they see more hands now. Does anybody get texts every single day from people looking for cash offers on that you can represent them on? Now everybody does, right? So you all have access to these developer relationships, whether you know it or not. So the tactic here, and this is not a video tactic, sorry, real estate video blueprint, but this is something that you can absolutely use, is that you send an email to your developer clients, right? So here's an example. I just said, hey, Jim, he's a developer client of mine, Flipper. I said, do you have a master list of the projects that you have underway right now? Because most of these developers, flippers, have 5, 10, 15 projects underway. And then he said, sure. And he gave me this little spreadsheet of his 10 projects that he had coming soon. So these aren't my listings. They're his listing. They probably have a listing agent on them, but it's a list of properties that are coming soon. I actually reached out to 3. So when I got all the returns back, there was like 25 properties that I then put onto a Google Sheet. Super easy, right? I just put all the addresses on a Google Sheet, and then I created a restricted share link. You know how you just hit share and then you leave it restricted so that when the person clicks it, they have to give you their email and you have to like authorize them. So then I just sent a blast email to my clients. And I was like, hey clients, I work with some of the biggest developers in San Diego. I just talked to all of them. They have about 25 projects that are coming soon. They're not yet on the market. They'll be there in 30 to 45 days. If you're interested in any of these projects, let me know. I'm not representing that I'm listing them. I'm not doing any of that. I'm just trying to give my buyer clientele some inside info on what's coming soon because as the developer agent, I have these relationships with these flippers and these developers. You can even take it a step further. You can kind of plot them onto a free Google My Map, just put the dots on there, and then turn that into a social post as well. And just say, hey, put out the post, same thing you put in the email, but say DM me the word, or comment the word, mini chat, right? Set up a mini chat that's DM me the word. And then you can start to collect emails from inbound buyer leads that are looking for information that only you have, right? But it wouldn't be REVB without a video for the developer clients too. Has anybody heard of Sharon's Deal of the Weeks? Everybody, right? We've all heard about it for 3 years, but I've only seen one person do the video versions of that. Shout out to Michael Perry, who's not in the room, who started the trend of doing video versions of Deal of the Week, which I also did here and worked really, really well. A detached home in San Diego in the 500s. This is San Diego's Deal of the Week. 6270 Meadowcrest in La Mesa just got listed for $540,000. Now, homes in this neighborhood typically sell above $1 million. It's gonna take about $200,000 to get it right. Total fixer-upper, probably some structural issues, so you may have to actually bring cash to the table, but if you have the money to go $550 cash, put $200K into it, you'd be able to sell this thing for over $1 million and make a huge profit. If you want more information about Meadowcrest, comment the word Meadowcrest. And if you want more deals like this straight to your inbox, comment the word deal. Join my Deal of the Week newsletter. So with Deal of the Week, that is just a video version of what we've been hearing about for years with Sharon, right? And so by working with the developers and having access to this off-market inventory and or deals that maybe you sent to a flipper and they didn't have the money for, they didn't want to do, you then put that and you make that content on social, and then now you can start to elicit new clients based on your developer relationships and access to this off-market type stuff, right? Anybody think that they can do Deal of the Weeks? I think that's pretty easy. Good. All right, love and relationship agents in the room, that's me. If that's you, you're gonna like this one, I think. Us good agents, the love and relationship agents who work our CRM all the time, our entire goal is to just talk to as many people as possible, right? I think what I operate by is what's called the 3-5 rule. It's basically just talk to 15 people a day. And so the thought process is that you talk to 5 different people on 3 different mediums. So make 5 calls, 5 texts, and 5 emails, or 5 DMs, 5 calls, and 5 in-persons, right? Just some form of talking to 15 people a day. I think Tom Ferry calls it 554. This isn't a new concept. The goal is to talk to 15 people a day. But we know that the average sales cycle is every 8 years or something like that. For 7 years and 9 months, what do you talk to your clients about? Do you send them chili cook-off recipes? Or do you actually try to provide them some sort of value? Because for 7 years and 9 months, they don't need you per se. They don't need your market updates per se. So what I like to do, and I recorded a video demo of how I do it, because I've shown this before and I had some questions, but I like to use what's called my Google Map strategy. And so what I do is I have a Google map. You can just go to Google My Maps, start a new map, you customize one, and put all of your clients into it so that it's all plotted on a map. And then I'm going to show you exactly what goes from there. What's up, REVB? I'm going to show you a live demo of how I do my Google Map strategy. This is something I do every Monday or Tuesday, give or take. Helps me get through my 3-5s because it basically overlays all the sales that happen in my MLS onto a custom Google map and shows me sales that happen close to my clients. So what I'll do is I'll come into my MLS and I just kind of pull all of the sales in San Diego, right? So you'll just update your MLS to sold, and then I just make the date range last 7 days, and you'll just get kind of a broad overview, 391 here, sales that happened all across San Diego. I don't limit this by any price or anything like this. Then I just take all of them and then I export that as a CSV. And I don't know how your MLS does it. I'm sure there's a way to do this though. And you just grab that CSV file and you take it over to a Google map. So secondarily, I have a Google map with all of my clients in here. And this is all of my past buyer clients who are still living in San Diego. You need their name and address. That's it. You can get this out of your CRM. Maybe you have a Google Sheet, whatever. Just go to Google My Maps and then create a Google My Map called a client list and then plot all your people onto it. And then what you'll do is you're just going to add a layer and we're going to import that CSV that we just pulled from the MLS, right? So we'll just import it. We'll match addresses to addresses, and then that's going to give us a bunch more dots. I like to immediately go change those colors to green so that they stand out a little bit better. Every once in a while you get some all over the country. Don't worry about that. It's probably just the listing agent put the map code in wrong when they were putting in their MLS. But as you see, you've now got all of the sales that happened in the last week plotted on this little map right next to all my clients. And so you can kind of zoom in and see when there's a sale that happens really close to a client, This one, for example, was 7599 Circular Sequoia. That happened on the same actual street as my clients, the Adlers. So now I'm going to show you what I do with that moving forward. I like that I was like talking to myself like there. So now I'm going to show you what I do with that information going forward. Sean and Amanda, what's up? Hey, I was just going through some of the sales last week, and I saw this one on the same street as yours. And I didn't know if you had gotten a chance to see this when it was open, like for the open house or anything like that. It's literally right down the street from you, closed at 3125, which I think is solid. It's literally the same size as your house. Obviously, it backs up to this canyon, so it's probably got a little bit of a bigger view out of the back. But for a house on your street, basically the same exact size as yours, to sell at 3.125, I mean, it's almost got a very similar layout too. I think this is an awesome comp for you. Just want to make sure you saw this. Hope all is well. I'll talk to you soon. Bye. So what we did there is basically we have to hit our 3.5s every day. Well, what do I talk to my clients about? Well, every Monday or Tuesday, I can just pull the previous weeks of all the sales. And if there's a match, street over, something like that, gives a real good reason to reach out to that client. Very easy touch point. You can say, hey, did you see that sale on your street? Super easy, right? And then I took it a step further. I used to do this all the time and just send texts or like call, every once in a while call. Usually it's just like a text. But then I started using BombBomb a couple years ago to do this, the video record, the screen record, where I'm just literally showing them. I'll pull up the Zillow and we'll just walk through it and I'll show them exactly what it is that I'm seeing. And then it just send it in an email, right? Because then you just embed it in an email that goes out to them through Follow Up Boss or through whatever your CRM is. And then it just goes out, and you can see, as I was prepping for these slides, is I did that one, sent it to them, and then she replied right back. And she's like, oh yeah, I got a flyer for that. I never saw it. That's cool, great comp, right? And so now you're having a reason to reach out to these clients. For that love and relationship agent who needs to stay in their CRM and have reasons to reach out every day, this is a great tactic that you can do to stay in front of your people. And lastly, the influencer crew. I spent the least time on this because if you're here, I figured every other person is probably telling you how to do the influencer stuff. But it is for the influencers in the room who are already really successful and really great on social media, who are probably already doing all the things that everybody talks about, right? The local stuff, the property tours, the green screens. The influencers have an opportunity to go backwards and pull their networks back from social media back into their CRM. So with the influencer types in the room, I really like what Alyssa Kernut, actually, shout out to Alyssa, she did fantastic yesterday, by the way. She did this awesome guide to all the holiday lights across Spokane. And on there, she made it, I don't know if it was like ChatGPT or she just did like a Google Doc, and she made a list, and then they had to like comment the word or ManyChat DM the word, and then she captured, what was it, Alyssa, like 380 emails? 400 emails from her holiday guide, right? So I mean, let's be real. We can all just go into ChatGPT. You just saw Jason Pantana talk about it. Create some sort of guide, right? The 3 best hiking trails, yada, yada, yada. You post a reel about it, and then you have the ManyChat set up to capture emails back for the guide. Now you're pulling all this influence that you have off of social media, bringing it back to your CRM, where you can then put them onto your email newsletter list or whatever, set up a webinar. I think the saying was like, you get views on the reels, you get conversations in the DMs, but you get sales in your email. And so like, how are the influencer types getting these people off of social and back into their CRMs? I think local guides like this with some sort of a ManyChat automation is a great way to do it, right? I don't want to give any praise to Dan Parker again because he's in my market, but writing a freaking book as a lead magnet is fantastic. And on all his YouTube stuff, he has this lead magnet that people can go to, then he'll send them a free book that then they can now they're in his ecosystem, in his CRM, right? Look, as we wrap this up in closing, I want to make it known, like, you can chat GPT, how do I make money in real estate? And there are 800 answers. But the point of this talk, and what I really want you to walk away from it, is that you acknowledge and you figure out what your zone of greatness is. Because again, going back to the quote about the fish, if you're trying to do video, but you should be doing listing stuff, it's not necessary. You're not going to be comfortable doing it, and you're not going to like it, right? But if you can double down, triple down on what really, really works in your zone of greatness, you'll find yourself finding more success. Now, that doesn't mean you can't do video if you're loving relationship. There's a way to merge it all together. But first and foremost, there are 78 different ways to make money. Pick the 2, 3, 4 that you're really, really good at. Hammer them over and over again, and you'll find success as you go on. That's all I got, guys. My name is Jason Cassity. Thank you so much.